Hello, welcome to Saturday's warm up with me, Roderick, or Rod. Um, if you're watching live, please do say hello and where you're from, and that would be nice. So today we are doing the Moyse 24 studies number 5 as a basis for warming up. And I've just been working on it this week and thinking of some exercises that can help with this study and also just to generally help with general technique. So a lot of it is going to be octave work, getting the sound of the higher octave into your lower octave. Quite often with this one, I find is that because it's all in the sort of middle register, the articulation can get a bit stuffy. It's quite difficult to make the notes speak really nicely in that register. So I think that's why he's written it like he has. Other things connected with this etude or study is the rhythm, length of notes not being the same, stresses of notes not being the same. So this one is in B flat major. It's in 6/8, and it has this kind of lilting, skipping rhythm. Quite often, you'll find this rhythm in nursery rhymes like Jack and Jill. So this one, I often think of the words Jack and Jill ran up the hill, and you get a sense of where the important notes are. So in language, it might be your content words as opposed to words that just help you get there. So Jack and Jill are your more important words. So we have to do that with the flute as well. So it's quite subtle differences in the stress of each note. So that's something, but this purposes for this warm-up is to really get the sound and articulation working for you in this register. And then we're going to go on to the variation stuff, which is a lot of rearticulation and triple staccato, but I wouldn't say it's necessarily necessary to use triple tonguing like tukata tukata. It doesn't need to go that fast, but we will be doing some working on that as well. Hi, Tandy. Okay, so and hello, Diane. Good, yes, it's all helpful for all pieces. I find these 24 studies, they just, whatever you're working on, whether it's a study, a piece of music, orchestra music, you can always find the answer or how to practice it with these 24 studies. So I always come back to them, and I'm glad that I'm doing the whole 24 as a series, and we'll get finished with these probably next year. It's going to take a while, 20 weeks more. So let's start then by finding a good sound. This could take a while because I haven't really played today. Hello, John. So what I like to do is to incorporate the sound of the octave, and the intonation, of course, needs to be good, of the higher octave into the low. Because quite often when we play low notes, we're opening the lips too much and the air goes too slow, which is fine if it's very legato and loud, because you can just waste the air and use it that way. But when you want to play something very crisp and exciting, having a bigger aperture doesn't really do it. So we need to find that brilliance of the top octave. So if you just play, we'll start with just a B flat, first note, and we're just going to go just back and forth between the octave, and see if you can bring that airspeed of the top octave down into your lower note. So don't try and reduce the airspeed too much, and think about the aperture not getting too open, but you're just redirecting that air down. So it's up, down. Okay, let's have a go. Okay, so two things to think about is what we're doing internally. How are you increasing the airspeed, and then to get to the top octave? So if you sing it, you feel a little pressure in the stomach area, okay, but it's not a squeeze, it's not a grip, but it's just a subtle sort of moving in and up, and then you kind of relax a little bit to come back down. So that's one thing. The other thing is to direct the air up and down, and a slight, tiny little bit of narrowing of the aperture, but not so extreme. It's just quite subtle. So those two things to think about. So you could try it without moving your lips, anything first, just your internal generation of the airspeed. So let's try that without lips moving so much. Okay, so it's going to sound a little bit less refined because you're not using the lips. Now, just the lips without the stomach, diaphragm, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so that's why we need the two together, because if you just use one, it doesn't sound great. But we do need to know that we're using those two together. So if you combine them now, a little bit of each into the mix, and then you'll find it's very easy to get that octave. So you feel this sort of uplift as you go to the top, this nice sort of subtle pressure in the stomach area, and a feeling of sort of raising up, like just like when you sing again. You can feel the resonance move up into the chest, perhaps, or even higher. So we need that sort of feeling when we play as well to get that really good octave. So then let's go from the top octave down, and see if you can get that sound of the top note into the lowest one. Okay, so that's the basics. Now let's make a little exercise of it, and it's on the second line of the handouts. It's basically 2 octaves, and then stopping on the low one. But when you get to that last low one, it should have the best sound that you can find. So and we're just going to go up a B flat major scale, up to about an F, and then coming down as low as we can go. Okay. So I'll just do the first one and then we can do it together. So that's what it is. Okay, so we go up the scale. Ready? 1, 2, 3. And then coming down. let's do that one more time. So it's going up to top F, then down to lower F, and then back to B flat. And that covers basically the range of the etude. Let's do it again. Ready? Good, so you might notice now that your lowest notes are starting to sound a little bit more vibrant, a little bit more brilliant in their sound. And that is the goal there. So really use the octave and the airspeed that you have from that top note. Get it into the lower note. Don't let it get too open or sort of soft sounding. Just really brilliant lowest octave. Okay, now the next little thing that I've done, so I think what we'll do first is just to play through the number 5 without the variation, and let's do it slurred, just so we get a sense of the melody and without all the articulation just yet, okay? So see if you can get that sound that you had with the octaves, and we're just gonna keep that sound all the way from beginning to end. Okay, da 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 da, at this speed. Okay, so I would do that nicely a few times just to get the sense of the rhythm, the sound, how we need to adjust as we go up and down. So for example, where it goes up to the F, got to take care of that top one and then the bottom one coming back to B flat. Okay, let's do that one more time, a little bit faster. 1, 2. Good. Now let's add in a variation. The first one being a bit of octave work again. So yum, beep, bum, ba, bum, beep, bum. So we're going to do an octave for each longer note. And I've written the first few bars of that on the top line of the handout. So I'll just show you what I mean just for the first couple of bars. And you can either do it all tongued like that, or you could slur from the top one. That's also helpful. Yeah. Each long note that you see in the study, and then carry on. Ready, go. Okay, so there's a little bit of a mind. I like to be a little bit creative with these variations, and they can be a little bit tricky to get at first, but that's the idea. Should we do it one more time? This time let's tongue from the top. Ba, dee da, da da, dee da. We'll go at the same speed just because it's quite tricky. Okay, 1 and 2. Good. Next little variation is to do quite fast octaves coming down. So it's like a grace note from above. So dia, diam, diam for each note. So if I show you what I mean. So we're going to go slow like that, and don't worry too much about the rhythm. Let's just go sort of note by note. But the idea is like we were doing with the octaves, it's just getting that sound really quickly into the low note. So it's almost as if it's part of the note itself. So biam, biam. And you see quite a lot of these kind of grace note studies in other Moyse studies. I think it's the Kreutzer studies that he puts them in, and other ones. And it's really good sort of training for your embouchure and the airspeed and everything. So let's do a little bit of it and see if it helps. Okay, so. Okay, so that's another tricky one. I write these things and I don't really know how hard they are until we get to them. And yeah, that one was tricky. So that's a good one to do. You can also do it the other way around if you find that maybe I think for me in the middle register, there's a danger of it being too slow with the air and it's not speaking as I want. But if you're the opposite sort of person where you tend to go too far to shoot the air out, or there's too much tension, you could try from the lower octave and go up. So for example, you can do it from C upwards. And you can get a little bit more depth of sound from the lowest note, that's another one you can try. Who has trouble with middle F, middle E flat? I do. So something that I always practice for the middle register is harmonics above and below and coming back to that note. So I know exactly what's happening if I'm playing with a slower air or fast air, and then right in the middle, what I need. So practicing harmonics is really good for that. Yes, on the alto, it's even worse. So if we try an F, find out where your best low F is, then the next one, then the harmonic, and then come back to the middle, and then we'll repeat the middle F. So we remember where that middle F belongs, and you re-articulate. Okay, so if I just show you quickly. Okay, so da da dee da 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 da. Okay, let's do that together on F. Okay, middle E natural. So we start with the low E. And E flat, last one. Okay, so that I find that just gives me a nice sort of framework. Oh yeah, there's the middle note, rather than guessing where it is. It's exactly where it should be. So I find that one helpful. And with your repeated notes, do them slowly first. So you're just really listening carefully to the sound, and then gradually, like a bouncing ball, just increase the speed of them. Another one that I like to do for this one is to do Tafnel and Gobert scales in this rhythm. Dun da dun da dun da dun da dun. And the one that we haven't done yet is to add a note into the mix, because as you see, we have a crotchet and a quaver, or a quarter and an eighth note, both with staccato, but they're not the same length. So we need to practice slightly elongating the crotchet or the quarter. And a good way of doing that is actually to slur down from the B flat or the main note each time until you get to the 5th bar. Play an F quaver after. So it would be, I put it in the handout actually. Okay, so each note slurred down to an F, but make sure that the low F is not loud, because we are trying to come away a little bit from the main note. So and then when you get here, I would do a low C. And then switch back to F here. Okay, so that's what I would do. And then, so we'll do that in a second. And then the next step on that would to make the low F, or the low note, extremely quiet. So it's as if we don't really hear that, but we hear a nice diminuendo on the first note. So it's a ghost, almost like a ghost note. And then you just stop fingering that low note. But you remember this coming away from the main note each time. And the other benefit of that is that your rhythm and your placement of all the quavers or eighth notes is more precise because we are subdividing the rhythm. So let's give that a go. Low Fs for the first few bars, low Cs for a couple of bars, and then back to low Fs. Let's go. So remember to come away each time. Okay, now let's ghost that second note. So it's super quiet, as if you're not even playing, but you still put the finger down. Okay, and let's do the last step, which is to take out that low note again. So it's written, but with this nice sort of stress and release on the main note. Dum, 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 dum. So a tiny little diminuendo on each crotchet. Ready, go. Good, and that's obviously quite slow, but it gives you the time to sort of really listen. And then if you did it quicker, you try to incorporate that as best as you can. And it gives you this life in the sound and good length of notes. Before we finish, let's do a little bit of variation. So in the variation, he's got da 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 da, and we want to hear the melody throughout all that articulation. So we want to bring out the main notes that we see in the top bit. But let's practice just some triple staccato. So with a B flat major scale, 1 octave. Da 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 da. Ready, 2. Okay, now octave jumps. Dum beep ba ba beep ba 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 ba. So low, high, low, low, high, low, which is in the handout on the second line. Or you can do the whole octave. and then octave the high one down to the low one. Beep, bop, bum. Okay, and then back to normal. And then let's do the variation. Da, 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 dum. And let's just play it through and we'll stop at the end of that. Ready? Go. Good. Okay, so does anybody have any questions? Any observations? Anything that you found difficult? If not, I can just stop there, but I'm happy to answer any questions in the next couple of minutes. I do know that there's a slight delay, so I don't want to rush off. Whilst you might be thinking of questions, just to say that I have just written a vocalese exercise called Beautiful Elephant in Paradise, and it's working on this 3-note structure pattern. So if you'd like to download it, it's on my website. It just costs £1. And I'll be writing vocaleses fairly regularly. I can't say every week because my compositional brain is not that wonderful. But yeah, there's some nice melodies to practice some of the things that we've been working on and some of the things that come up in my book. So if you want to get it, that would be great. It helps me out. And also, please like and subscribe, all those kind of things. And I'll see you next week. I will put on my website every time that I am going to do a warm-up thing. And if I don't put the date, it means I'm not going to be there. So last week, sorry, I couldn't be here because I was in Bath having a holiday, which was very nice. So sometimes I won't be here, but should be here most weeks. All right, thanks for tuning in and see you next time.